There is new concern that the oil disaster unfolding in the Gulf of Mexico right now may be much worse than previously thought and much worse than BP is admitting. Experts analyzing new video of the gusher say it could be spewing as much as 70,000 barrels a day. That's close to 3 million gallons. By comparison, the Exxon Valdez spilled a total of 250,000 barrels. CNN's Brian Todd asked a BP official in charge of the spill to respond to that and a lot more. Brian?
Wolf, BP is under serious criticism these days for its actions before the explosion and the way it's handled the aftermath. So we spared no ammunition when we met with the top BP official in charge of the response.
Under intense public pressure, his company's desperately trying to stop this gusher, at the same time fending off charges that it doesn't have its act together. We put some tough questions to BP Managing Director Bob Dudley, one of the top officials coordinating spill response.
You first said it was 1,000 barrels a day, and you had it under control. Then you said it was 5,000 barrels a day, and you were struggling to control it. And then we hear about all these different options that we're trying. None of them seem to work. Why should anyone believe what you guys are saying about this anymore?
Well, early days, we were getting the data, looking at the flow rates and looking at the satellite data, and collectively there was an estimate of 1,000 barrels a day. We now have raised that estimate consistently for some time. Again, it's not a BP estimate, it's a Unified Command Center estimate with NOAA and Coast Guard. Since the very first day of this spill, we have put together and brought together from the industry the best engineers and scientists together with the U.S. government to work at multiple tracks and options to try to solve a problem that we've never seen before.
You say you've got the best minds on this. You've got the technology to do the drilling and to get down that far in the first place, but seemingly don't have the technology or the plan in place to stop something like this. Why not?
Well, the oil and gas industry has been drilling in deep water for 20 years. This is a new and different accident. And the blowout preventers didn't work. No one ever expected that.
Dudley rejected the claim by a university professor that this riser is leaking up to 70,000 barrels of oil a day, far more than BP's estimate of 5,000, which they're still sticking to.
That number is not accurate at all, 70,000 barrels a day.
There's no way it could be accurate. I mean, there's a huge disparity here. There couldn't be somewhere in between 5,000 and 70,000?
You can look at the amount of oil that's coming up on the surface with the satellites. We can measure the pressure drops at the top of the BOP and what's coming out. That photograph really does need a little ruler next to it to give you a sense of the size, because the photographs sort of make it look, bigger than it physically is. And again, you take into account the expansion nature of the gas and the crude. A lot of it evaporates. It's a light, sweet crude, low sulfur crude. That 70,000 barrels a day isn't anywhere, I think, within the realm of possibility now.
Now they're trying an insertion tube into the riser. If that doesn't work, a top hat funnel will be lowered on top of it. They're also clogging the blowout preventer with junk, and they're bringing in a relief well, which is weeks away.
There is nothing in your mind that says maybe none of this will work, and that would be the absolute worst case scenario.
Brian, no. No, we will stop this leak.
Dudley says once that's done, they're going to, quote, forensically take this apart, examine every part of this drill rig operation, and he says the industry as a whole will learn from this and will add redundancies, more safeguards, better plans to make sure this doesn't happen again, Wolf.
They got to do something, Brian. You have also some clarification on the next steps they're taking to try to cap this well.
That's right. We've got some animation to show that. This weekend, they're going to bring in an insertion tube, and this is how it works. We saw some of this in the piece. They're going to insert it here. This is kind of flanked by a gasket here, where they're going to bring it in, try to basically shut off the flow that way, and it'll act as a straw, taking the oil up to the surface where there are ships waiting there to carry it away. That's going to happen this weekend. If that doesn't work, they're going to try something else. We're going to show you another animation to kind of clarify everything they're doing here. That's where that's going to be taking place. Okay, that's where the insert tube will be inserted and try to funnel it up there. If that doesn't work, they're going to bring in this top hat, bring it in and kind of lower it over there. They tried to do that with the bigger dome last weekend. It didn't work. They think that if the insertion tube doesn't work, the top hat might have the same effect. Now, that junk shot that everybody's talking about with the tires and the golf balls inserted into it, that's actually going to go here into the blowout preventer. The blowout preventer is sitting above the wellhead, which is leaking less oil. They're going to try to cap that wellhead, but most of the oil's in the riser. 85% of it's here. That's why they're trying the insertion tube and possibly that top hat this weekend, Wolf.
All right, let's hope something works. Let's pray, in fact. Thank you very much. The stakes are enormous, Brian. For more on the real size of the leak and BP's credibility at this point, let's head to the front line of the Gulf disaster. And joining us now from Biloxi, Mississippi, the Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, Admiral Thad Allen. Admiral, is it 5,000 barrels a day that's spewing out? 50,000 barrels a day? 70,000 barrels a day? We're confused right now based on all these reports.
Well, Wolf, I heard the same reports too. If I could just comment in this regard, whether it's 1,000 or 5,000 barrels a day or 50,000 barrels a day, we have planned from the start for a catastrophic spill, so we have not been constrained in our planning by the fact that it was 5,000 barrels or some other number. And I will tell you this, the only information we have from the bottom there is video from the remotely operated vehicles. There's no human access to that point of discharge, and I think we need to be very, very wary about any estimates. We need to plan for a worst-case scenario, and that's what we've been doing on the surface.
So right now we don't know how many barrels a day are spewing out of there.
Well, Wolf, we got a two-dimensional picture on video, and we got some people working on trying to figure out what that total might be. But in the meantime, if we wait to figure out how much is coming out of it, we're not going to be conducting a response on the order that we think we need to. So we've always erred on the side that this could be a catastrophic spill, and we planned in that regard.
Commandant, do you have confidence in the executives at BP that they're telling you the truth, that they're telling you everything they know?
I'm in frequent communication with the executives in BP, Wolf. In fact, I just talked to Tony Hayward this afternoon regarding the current operations and putting the top hat and the pipe into the riser pipe. There are talks about sequencing, sharing technical information. As you know, Secretary Salazar and Secretary Chu were down there recently, and we've actually provided technical equipment from the Department of Energy. So there's a lot of interplay. I would say our interaction with them is relentless in our oversight and relentless in our expectations. And when I need to, I communicate directly with the CEO.
So basically, you think they're cooperating?
We know what they're going to do. They have a timeline. They publish it every day to us. We keep track of it. And Secretary Salazar and Secretary Napolitano and I are right on top of it, Wolf.
The other rigs, the other oil rigs, similar to the one that exploded, basically, they're still operational right now. Are you confident that they are safe?
Well, Wolf, that's more of a regulatory matter for Minerals Management Service to take care of, and I believe they're addressing it. I defer to them for comment. I think everybody across the regulatory community is looking at what they own as part of this, and of course we will too, because we own the regulation of the ships we're floating above.
The other day when we spoke, you said it could be August, worst case scenario, before the oil stops flowing from this hole, basically. Are you more or less hopeful today than you were the other day that this could be resolved long before August?
Well, Wolf, in the longest term, without any other fix, it's going to be the relief well, the relieving of pressure and capping the well that will solve this thing permanently. But in the meantime, we're trying to attack the leakage that's going on, both mitigating the leaks that are underway and trying to terminate the leaks. That's what's going on right now. The top hat alternative and plus drilling a pipe into the marine riser would seriously mitigate the leakage and help keep it under control and put less oil on the surface. We're also very close to a final decision on the use of dispersants at the seafloor, which would mitigate the amount of oil that gets to the surface. That pins a review on protocols for testing because we've never had extensive dispersant use at the seafloor. Following that, there are three things that are being prepared to take place in the next week or so by the 18th next week. One is the top kill or the shot in that puts debris into the blowout preventer. A second one would be to cut the marine riser because now we understand the pressure at the top and put a valve on that would actually seal it. And finally, to actually just put another blowout preventer on top of the current one. All six of those things are happening in parallel. When one is ready to go, we do it, and we're not giving up on all of them. And there's a collection of 6 things that could help us either mitigate the leaks or achieve success within the next week.
These next 6 days will be critical. Good luck, Commandant. We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Wolf.